Quote of day 1. To be or not to be, that is the question. William Shakespeare, Hamlet.
Quote of day 2. I think, therefore I am. René Descartes, Discourse on the Method.
Quote of day 3. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The Bible, Genesis. Quote of day 4. Big Brother is watching you. George Orwell, 1984.
Quote of day 5. Act only according to that maxim, whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Immanuel Kant, Groundwork of the Metaphysics of Morals.
Quote of day 6. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates via Plato, Apology. Quote of day 7. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. Quote of day 8. Call me Ishmael. Herman Melville, Moby Dick.
Quote of day 9. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby.
Quote of day 10. Sing, O goddess, the wrath of Achilles. Homer, Iliad.
Quote of day 11. Tell me, O muse, of that ingenious hero. Homer, Odyssey.
Quote of day 12. What you do not wish for yourself, do not do to others. Confucius, Analect.
Quote of day 13. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Laozi Tao Te Ching. Quote of day 14. God is dead. Friedrich Nietzsche, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Quote of day 15. Workers of the world unite. Karl Marx, The Communist Manifesto.
Quote of day 16. All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Leo Tolstoy, Anna Karenina.
Quote of day 17. Beauty will save the world. Fyodor Dostoevsky, The Idiot.
Quote of day 18. To love another person is to see the face of God. Victor Hugo, Les Miserables.
Quote of day 19. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus.
Quote of day 20. Man is by nature a political animal. Aristotle, Politics.
Quote of day 21. I know that I know nothing. Socrates via Plato, Apology.
Quote of day 22. Existence precedes essence. Jean-Paul Sartre, Existentialism is a humanism.
Quote of day 23. The limits of my language mean the limits of my world. Ludwig Wittgenstein, Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus.
Quote of day 24. When Gregor Samsa woke up one morning from unsettling dreams, he found himself changed in his bed into a monstrous vermin. Franz Kafka, The Metamorphosis. Quote of day 25. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. John Milton, Paradise Lost.
Quote of day 26. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Dante Alighieri, Inferno. Quote of day 27. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately. Henry David Thoreau, Walden.
Quote of day 28. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Self-Reliance.
Quote of day 29. A man can be destroyed, but not defeated. Ernest Hemingway, The Old Man and the Sea.
Quote of day 30. The past is never dead. It's not even past. William Faulkner, Requiem for a Nun.
Quote of day 31. A woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write fiction. Virginia Woolf, A Room of One's Own.
Quote of day 32. One is not born, but rather becomes a woman. Simone de Beauvoir, The Second Sex.
Quote of day 33. Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. Isaac Asimov Foundation.
Quote of day 34. It was a pleasure to burn. Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451.
Quote of day 35. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Orellano Buendia was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude.
Quote of day 36. No man's knowledge here can go beyond his experience. John Locke, An Essay Concerning Human Understanding.
Quote of day 37. Custom, then, is the great guide of human life. David Hume, An Enquiry Concerning Human Understanding.
Quote of day 38. The strongest of all warriors are these two, time and patience. Leo Tolstoy, War and Peace. Quote of day 39. Where there is power, there is resistance. Mitchell Foucault, The History of Sexuality.
Quote of day 40. There is nothing outside the text. Jacques Derrida, of Grammatology.
Quote of day 41. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Soren Kierkegaard, The Concept of Anxiety.
Quote of day 42. I will not serve that in which I no longer believe, whether it call itself my home, my fatherland, or my church. James Joyce, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man.
Quote of day 43. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Marcel Proust, In Search of Lost Time.
Quote of day 44. The white man is very clever. He came quietly and peaceably with his religion. We were amused at his foolishness and allowed him to stay. Now he has won our brothers, and our clan can no longer act like one. He has put a knife on the things that held us together, and we have fallen apart. Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart.
Quote of day 45. The owl of Minerva spreads its wings only with the falling of the dusk. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, Philosophy of Right.
Quote of day 46. Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. Arthur Schopenhauer, Studies in Pessimism.
Quote of day 47. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations.
Quote of day 48. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus Enchiridion.
Quote of day 49. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince. Quote of day 50. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice.